What is up, everybody, and welcome to Knife Cast Meet Your Maker Episode 2. Today we have Nick Chuprin. It is such an honor. Nick, how are you doing?
Doing good today.
That's awesome.
Welcome, man.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's looking forward to this.
It's super cool to have you, man. We know that you've been sort of chomping at the bit to get on the show, so it's nice to finally have you here. So we don't have any real recap from the last show. It was the Blade show, a little roundup. So real quick, we'll go around the horn and talk about what everybody carried today. Josh, why don't you start us off?
I had my NCC Knives MK1S on me today in anticipation of this episode. It was one that I won from the auction that he had recently, and it's the only one with an inlay and a Damascus blade, so I cherish this thing a lot.
That's the Blackwood carbon fiber, right?
Correct.
It is.
That's some of the older Blackwood that's been out there. I have
That's
a
a good looking knife.
types, and like some of the newer stuff is very tightly weaved. That's like a looser weave.
Nice.
It has a lot of that cat's eye style reflection that Frank loves to comment about so much. It's an awesome knife. Chatoyance.
Chatoyance,
You like how I got away from that word?
Yeah, I like it. You try to avoid it. I think the word there is circumlocute. Anyways.
Okay, sure.
That's a nice knife. That is a nice knife.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nick, what about you, man? What did you have in the pocket?
I got odd things. I got one of the original MK1s. I got an automatic here that I'm like reverse engineering, and I got the parts that I machined this week because I EDC the parts I machine every week because I'm a weirdo.
There you go. And Frank?
Nice. Well, similar to what Josh did, I carried a BBM today, but if you've been following my Instagram the last couple of days, I've gotten 2 new BBMs, so I actually have 3 now, and a 4th one that's lost in the mail, unfortunately. So technically I own 4, a.k.a. 10% of all of the BBMs in the world, but I carried the Mokutai one today. I just love this fucking knife. It's so good. It's
Delightful.
Yeah. You got to check it out, right?
Me?
Yeah, you made a video about it.
Yeah. I went home with it from Blade Show.
Yeah, man.
He has your original. I didn't get to see that video yet. He had your original one.
Yeah, he had the green one. He made a great video about it.
Cool.
That did indeed happen. Yeah, that's awesome, man. You guys have Chuprin knives, so...
What about you, man? What'd you carry?
I don't have Chuprin knives.
You have the Chuprin collab.
What?
You have a collab.
Are you part
Which
of the...
No, you got
Custom
the Gavin
Tech?
fixed blade.
The which one?
Oh, no shit. He's right. Sorry. Yeah. Good call. That thing's been in a box somewhere. I can't carry fixed blades anymore. But, oh, man, that knife is sick. Yeah, the one with the purple G10
Purple
inside the handles.
I forgot that you made those. That's right. That's right.
Those are sick. That's probably my favorite fixed blade, actually.
Those are cool.
So I had to work from home today, but I recently have had a windfall of lovely loaners coming in from Mr. Heels with Steel on Instagram there.
Oh,
Mike. Yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 knives on loan from him, totaling a little over 11 Gs. So it's quite a bit of fire.
Hey, tell me your address again real quick.
So the Shirogorov Southern Russian flipping Tonto, that was the one that was the first one I put in my pocket when I went to work yesterday. She's hot for sure.
That's an amazing knife. Very jealous. That's cool.
I've been playing with the servo the most though.
He has
Honestly.
a new one.
The servo is amazing.
Yeah,
you and Josh both got a new one.
It's
right
number
now.
27.
Servo person.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I think Frank's is better than this one, but only by like 1%.
That flipping Tanto is one of my grails back when I was a collector. Obviously, Tantos and grinds. Only knives I collected back then were Tantos.
Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that.
It's a sick knife. So yeah, I've been finger fucking those things like crazy.
Oh yeah,
and it's been a lot of fun.
you got
okay.
a custom tech too. I wanted to talk about that another time.
Yeah. I do. It's dope knife. You were right in your video. But enough about us, man. This is the Chuprin episode. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Nick, take it away with your backstory. Sort of tell us how you got into making knives.
I guess it started back in 2013 or something. I mean, I was 13. I don't remember what year it is. Prior than that. And I went to the New York Knife Show because a friend told me about it because I was into woodworking back then. And I walked in there with my brother, and he pretty much wanted to leave in an hour. And then that's when I started researching custom knives. I got big into the Sabenzas and Striders back then. Went on to the New York Knife Show the following year, and I actually spent my time there, and that's when I actually got to buy my first Sabenza and the Strider. It just took off from there. I got addicted to the hobby for about 2 or 3 years until I started making knives in about 2015. I just started messing around with fixed blades in the garage. And like the people always ask, like, what do you need to make knives? I started on a 4x4 plywood table that had tools around the entire perimeter, and it was all Harbor Freight tools. The Harbor Freight $40 grinder, a really dangerous bandsaw I modified. Don't recommend that. Drill press. Like, that was all I had. And then in 2014, I designed the original MK1. And the first one was a liner lock, carbon fiber handles, and it was actually a compound grind, but it was like a flat grind. So there's 2 different angles, flat grinds. And the reason that happened was because when I was a collector, I only collected Tantos, like I said before. And the only knives that I really wanted were compound ground Tantos. And to the guys that are familiar with the market back then, there wasn't many guys. My Grail was a Bob Ohm Tanto, which I couldn't get, and the Southern Tanto, the flipping Tanto, which I also couldn't get. So I was always after a Barker, and I never won his lotteries. So I decided, let's make it myself. And that's what started messing around. It took me a little bit of practice till I got it, and that's what became the MK1. Made it as a hobby in the beginning, and when I was first year of college, it just started taking off, and I really wanted to work with my hands, be my own boss. Never really liked being under authority. So I decided to go on the 3-year hiatus, and I was like, by the time I'm 21, I want to see how this goes. And fortunately, I'm about to be 22. It's going pretty well, and I just see that this is a viable career, and I'm just kind of seeing where I could go. Originally, it was all by hand, just my mill and my drill presses and my grinders. Then I started incorporating water jet, and then one day I met Brian Nadeau, Sharp by Design, and I walked into his shop and I saw his Haas mini mill. And that day I walked out and I was like, if I'm going to seriously do this as a career, I must learn CNC and buy this machine. 9 months later, I had a Haas sitting in my shop, and I just made it happen. Fortunately, just picked up cam and CAD very quickly, and it's been working out. I made everything from folders to gun parts to fishing parts to the other people, but it's working. It's fun. I really do like the CNC to where at this point I don't consider myself a knife maker. I consider myself a CNC machinist that just happens to make knives, even though I'm an amateur machinist.
Interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any sub questions to that?
Well, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have anything?
Yeah. So I guess I'm interested in sort of you talked about Tantos, and you make a very unique blade shape. Talk to us about your designs and kind of why you make the knives look the way they do. They're awesome.
Because I couldn't buy those back then. And unfortunately, nowadays everyone and their mother makes a harpoon Tanto. That's just what it is.
Yeah, they're around.
Whenever I get that message, I just go, I'm like, look, I'm not going to get into it. If you want, go back to 2014 on my Instagram. I'm making this forever. Mm-hmm. The only ones out back then was the John Barker, like I said, and that was the only knife that was feasible for me to get. I just never won the lotteries. And this was before his secondary was $6K. His secondary back then was $2,500. But my limit for collecting when I was a collector was $1,200 for me to keep it. Anything past that, I had to flip it. Mm-hmm. The Southern, he just didn't make many of those back then, so I couldn't get it. And Bob Blum knives were just too expensive. Eventually, I still have one of the only customs I have left. I have a Microtech Matrix, the Mini. But one of my favorites is Les Voorhees Mini Abram, a one-off. So it's one knife, and it's compound ground like I have, but it's a Bowie tip, and it's a very slim knife. And I got in his books after that, and he tried to replicate that grind, and he couldn't. So same thing, hollow grind, flat ground tip. He just didn't do it often, so he couldn't replicate it. But that's the only knife I still actually have in my collection. Besides that, I sold everything off about 3 years ago. So I couldn't buy it, so I made it, and then it just turned into a career.
That's awesome. I guess, would you be able to tell us, kind of like, walk us through maybe how you make a knife? Like, say you're making a Mark 1. Like, what do you do as Nick Chuprin to, like, make a knife happen?
Like nowadays or originally, because every year it changes as I expand, because I'm trying to build a very solid procedure right now. But like just how I do it now, or just...
Yeah, how about how you do it now? One of the questions later on might be how have you evolved, but yeah, how do you do it like today? How do you make a knife?
First, it starts off an idea in my head, and I used to draw on paper everything, but I don't draw on paper anymore because I suck at drawing, and nothing's ever to scale, and you never know if it's a fixed blade, I'll draw on paper, but if it's a folder, you kind of need to make the mechanism work. And the MK1 had a very solid mechanism. I never really have lock rock issues or stick issues. So nowadays, when I design any knife, I take the pivot, stop pin, flipper, tab, lock bar from the MK1, and I design out towards the blade tip and then towards the knife end. I mean, the handle end. After that, I get all the CAD set up, and I think about how I'm going to make the knife, think about the stock I'm going to use, the steel I'm going to use, and what do I want it to do? Do I want it just to look pretty? Do I want it to be a user? And my design philosophy is usually try to get it all around. So if you see, I don't make any of those 1-inch thick, beefy, overbuilt knives because I think those are stupid, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't make any. I want to make some really slimline stuff, like just kind of user orientated. Like the micro, it's a small knife, and some people look at it as gimmicky with a 2.5-inch blade, but I want to make myself one to replace my ADC because you don't really need more than 2.5 inches on a knife, especially you use the tip and not the tanto, which is another part of my philosophy. I like tantos for users because you got those 2 tips. Because what are you doing out the first little bit of your knife because you're using the tip? You don't really cut with the start of your belly.
I agree with that, but, you know, keep your opinions about 1-inch thick knives to yourself.
What?
He likes them thick.
I like that. I like that. I like them thick with 2 C's. Josh knows me. Josh has got it.
What? No way, dude.
No, yeah, dude.
I don't remember you collecting too much, but I don't. What do you have? What do you have that's overbuilt?
You don't have any knives like that. None.
Sure, I do. My Larevos? Are you kidding?
No, those aren't.
Come on.
Those aren't. I'm talking about like.
Dude, my mini Tribeca's.
I'm not talking about the makers and stuff. Just to make like a Medford, a heater, like those knives. I don't understand that, but like that's more.
I've got this Anthony Griffin monster right now. It's freaking got a 1/2-inch blade on it.
Yeah, I think that's another level of overbuilt. Like I look at custom knives to look pretty, something that's not going to be made production, like that Griffin knife, a Medford. Those are like I never see production makers go with that overbuilt stuff. And then there's also the category of all around, which is like what a production knife will be. Like it's usable, it looks pretty, it goes well in the pocket. It holds its value, but it's a custom version, a very high-end, handmade, attention to details put into it.
You know, that's an interesting philosophy. I've never heard a maker really describe it that way, but some makers, I would say Brian Nadeau is also very similar in the sense that, like, you guys are making these knives that are essentially like some could consider super ultra high-end production, but they're really custom knives. Like, you guys are making them individually. But your philosophy is to sort of be as reliable as a production knife, but also fully custom. I think that's really cool. I've never heard anyone describe it.
I call that fad-proof, to be honest.
Okay.
I've been in the market for a while. Like I'm young, but like I've been collecting since I was 13. I'm 22 now, and I've seen fads come and go. And I talked to a lot of old school makers that have been around for 20 plus years. And the biggest example they always bring up to me is the switchblade fad, where knife makers were going bankrupt and they didn't know what to do whenever switchblades died and the tactical market happened. And I always think about that because, like I said, I'm 22. If I'm doing this full time, I got a long time ahead of me in this. The overbuilt stuff, that I consider that a fad that's going to come and go. Even like the natural materials, like Mother and Pearl has a 5-year span. It comes and goes like in 5-year periods. But what I've noticed the past 2 years, for some reason, there's like 4-month spans of fad materials. Whenever like marble carbon fiber came out, carbo quartz is probably going to die by the end of the year. Just how the things have been going lately. So many new materials come out, and everyone wants that stuff first. Like I try to get some of that the Damascene San Mai stuff, because that stuff's gonna be crazy for about 6 months to a year, and then it's gonna die down again, and then there's gonna be the next thing coming out.
That's true. There's always these new materials. That Damacore stuff, yeah, that sounds interesting.
That stuff looked cool. I just like it because I love the Armor Core Semi from Chad. The problem I have, it comes like 1/4 inch thick, and it takes a lot of work to get it to usable for my blades. And once I get it that to usable thickness for my blades, the core is like very thick. It's the majority of the steel. That's why that BBM collab we did, we left it kind of like a one-off full thickness, so that way the Damascus really showed off like it should be made.
It was a 1/4 inch thick?
No, it was 220.
220. And how big are these guys? What is this?
5/32, which is 156.
Wow. Wow, that's a big knife then. That's a thick one.
Yeah. It's very to me it's very funny because like Rob's made knives that are thicker. Usually his knives are 3/16, and when he does the Damasteel stuff, the Damascus it's thicker. But like to me, every knife I've ever made is always 5/32 for a folder. Like I'm very standard. That's another thing. Like what I make is what I think it's long-term reliable. Like I don't follow the fads. I just do my thing, and I don't follow what's hot today. Like there's a question about secondaries and if that affects me. I don't look at that. I just do what I do, and if this is hot right now and I can get 3 times more fun for my knives if I follow that, that's cool and all, but I'd rather just keep doing what I do and as long as it works. And thankfully it's been working. Like what I call now a lot of guys I see making what I like pig lip, like what's the term? It's like lipstick on a pig. They're making a normal knife and they're a new maker, but like they're just throwing $2,000 worth of materials into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Like right now, that's what's hot, I guess. That's you become a good maker. But I'll see that guy make 10 knives that have $2,000 worth of material in it. But then one day he'll make a knife that just plain steel and the grinds aren't straight or something's off.
Yeah, it does happen. It does happen.
It happens all the time.
I like the precision in your knives. Like I do. Obviously like I have a bunch of them, and I'm planning to get more of them. But that's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, and you hand grind your blades, right?
Yeah, I have to. The Tanto.
Yeah.
Like if you also look at all the like, I've been doing the MK1 for a while, and every time I try to go away from the MK1, something happens, and it brings me back to the MK1. Like I was supposed to do that pre-order like 3 or 4 months ago for the new model, which is a Tanto.
Yeah.
As well. And like everything I try to do is kind of like if I ground the BBMs, it would have had a compound grind. But in this collab, Rob had he was dedicated to grinding the blades, so that's why they're that normal hollow grind.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, everything if it's a Tanto or if it's dual, even if it's just a high tip belly, I guess like a Shabbos Redemption, it's getting a compound grind. That's how I do things. And every time I contemplate, I could use my mill to do the bevels, but then if it's the same handle, CNC ground handle, and a CNC ground handle on my customs, and the only difference is a CNC ground blade and hand ground blade, I feel like it's going to affect the market. So I'm a hand grind as long as these hands work, pretty much. And if I'm CNC grinding the blade, I might as well just outsource and do like a collab with Riate or whatnot or something along those lines if I'm already going to fully CNC the knife.
That's a good point, yeah.
Well, speaking of collabs, that is an excellent segue into Josh's first question. We're going to go around to each of the hosts and ask a few questions, and then we will finally get to sort of the grand finale, which is going to be all of the community questions that you lovely people were so kind to donate to us. So, Josh, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I might have kind of stole this a little bit from a community question. I was reading through them, and I think it was Crew Jones. If it is you, Crew, I'm sorry. Sorry, buddy. But one thing I wanted to ask is you do a lot of collabs, and so one of the things I was thinking about is what is your dream collab project? Like if you could work with anybody in the market right now to make one of their knives or vice versa, who would that be and why?
I saw that question. I thought about it kind of hard. I couldn't nail it down. To be honest, I've done it already with Rob, just because me and him work well together. We're very similar-minded, and our design aesthetics are very similar as well. Besides that, I don't know if it follows on before, if it was someone I never worked with, but I can't still work with him either, it would be Tom Mayo. I just loved his work, and when I was a collector, his work always kept me in awe. And I would have loved to do like a folding Tonto with him. So just a little bit more modern, I guess. But that's not possible. But that's my answer. I've already done it. My dream collab, that's with Rob. But if it's someone that I can't do it with, it'll be with Tom Mayo.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's amazing.
That's cool with the mayo too, because the first thing I think of with mayo is those MOA holes, and just seeing like one of your knives in that style. That'd be cool. I never even thought about that.
Yeah. Well, one day, whenever I'm settled and I have money to spend, I'm gonna try to find a folding Tanto from Mayo. I've seen one for sale and it was pretty high.
Yeah, his stuff is always held in pretty high regard from pretty much everybody I know. I've always wanted one, but I never could pull the trigger.
I've never handled one. I would like to someday. I mean, everyone says they're amazing.
Yeah.
The build quality is very similar to like a Terzula. Because I guess their methods were the same, but like to me, I've never held a Tanto, but I've held like a Lum Chinese. Another Grail of mine was a Lum Onslaught. Like there's the Benchmade made one, but like a custom version. That's what got me into harpoons, because it was the only production knife back then with a harpoon.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of those, the Onslaughts. I think that's one of my favorite production knives. Like I gotta say, they don't make it anymore, unfortunately.
This is a good looking knife.
If anyone has the D2, I think it was D2 with the carbon fiber handle mini Onslaught, let me know. I'm looking for those.
Let's hook this man up in search of Onslaught.
In search of Onslaught. Awesome.
Nice.
Oh man. Okay, so that was super. That was a really easy question, straight and to the point.
Nice.
So my next one is just like, this is something I always think about. It's a job for you, right? And so everybody, no matter what job they have, are gonna get frustrated at some point in time. And I get frustrated a lot, all the time. Worst thing, as far as like a UPS driver, is having to get out of the truck and knock on the door and wait for somebody to come to the door to get a signature confirmation. So it takes like literally extra seconds, but it feels like it takes extra years. So one of the things I always think about is like, as a knife maker, what is the most challenging or frustrating part of being a knife maker?
It being a career, because it's something I love doing, and whatever it has to be something you love doing it has to pay for your bills. It becomes a job. And then the day when you want to work for yourself, you don't want it to be a job. And since it started as a hobby, something I enjoyed doing on the side, I made a knife here, I made a knife there, I'm working on some project. Now it's like, I gotta make 5, 6, whatever knives a week to pay my bills. So whenever I work on batches, so I'm usually working on 10 knives at a time. It's 6 to 10 knives at a time. And if I machine those all at once, if I machine something wrong, for example, I was doing a set of knives, and I don't know why, but I think I machined the outer area, but one stop and hole was 1/8 inch, and the other one was 1/4 inch. So I had a whole set of knives where I had to remake the show sides. So I just lost a week of work. So you go from Monday to Monday, and you just kind of like nothing just happened. So it makes I still consider it a hobby, but it's a job. But it makes that part frustrating, because now it's like, I got to hustle to pay the bills and make some knives. Like the week before the show, that Monday, I had 0 knives on the bench because I was working on a lot of projects, and I was like, I'm flattered down to the blade show with nothing. I worked 130 hours that week, and I made it to the show with 7 knives.
Oh man!
Wow.
But just it being a career, that's the most frustrating part. Besides that, I love it.
Yeah, that's very stressful, knowing that, number one, you have to make these things, and number two, they got to sell before you can pay your bills and survive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Besides that, everything else I love. I love that I could take nothing and turn it into something. Recently, I've looked at it a little bit like that, but when I first started, everyone's like, knife makers are artists. And I never looked at myself like I'm an artist. But now that I'm looking at more into the market again, I'm like, you're an artist. Like, it goes back to the category of custom knives I was looking at. Even though like the big overbuilt knives, I consider those art knives, because in reality, it's not the most comfortable knife, but it's that custom aspect that if you're an artist, you make whatever you want. So even if it's not, at the end of the day, it's just a knife-based project. It's just a knife-based artwork.
I refer to my knives as sculptures.
That's a
functional.
way to look at it.
A lot of people call it functional art.
Yeah, that's why whenever everyone asks me what are you, I'm a knife maker that makes functional art. I always say, like 90% of people don't actually use these knives.
It's true.
I use mine.
You do not. Shut up, Josh.
More
No,
than
I will carry this one. There's a select few I will carry.
Use, it has to be more than opening boxes. Like the user I have, I've cut sheetrock with it. There's when I doing like the whole time I was doing shop construction, the bearings wouldn't function because they were just caked with drywall dust.
Well, see, I do that with like a Spyderco Endure. I'm not gonna do that with a $1,000 knife.
When I was a collector, I even did that. When anything under $1,000, I used. I had a Pelican case that held 6 knives, and I would constantly rotate them. But 3 of those knives I couldn't rotate because they were just so worn out and so used, which is that Microtech Mini Matrix, the Les Voorhees, and I don't remember what the third one is, but I did eventually end up selling it. I think it was Onzo. I don't know. Remember, I don't know any model names. It was Onzo, but I used all those heavily.
That just gave me goosebumps. I would not. Yeah, I'll open packages. I'll cut up an apple, some food.
Like this. If you have a fancy watch on your wrist,
I have an Apple Watch.
I look at even then. But like you walk around, it gets beaten up and scratched up. You don't care. And an Apple Watch is still not. It's not that cheap. And a lot of these guys carry Rolexes on their wrists, nice Seikos and whatnot. It gets beat up, and that's considered man jewelry. I look at a knife as man jewelry. Why do you think guys like Damascus clips? Like I like Damascus accents. I don't like full scales because that's the part that's visible, and that's your man jewelry. If you have it on you, you use it. So for me to carry it, I want to have it on me.
Exactly.
That's why I can never get into watches, and that's why Tyler is going to succumb to watches because of the man jewelry part.
The man jewelry part. It's not. Yeah.
So
I get you on that.
My philosophy mirrors Nick's for sure.
Yeah, I could never justify having a Rolex on my arm, just like I could never justify carrying a $3,000 knife and actually using it for sheetrock and shit.
Yeah, I disagree with all of that.
Well, I just don't have the need to do that.
Exactly. I don't need to cut sheetrock.
Right. I use my knives. I use all of my knives for the things that I need to do on a daily basis. But
scalping
none of those things.
People.
Yeah, scalping people in surgery.
I
don't do that.
Give me the worst. Every time I'm ever gonna need surgery in my life, I'm gonna think about you on the back end because of the Instagram conversation.
Yeah.
You're gonna make me so give me bad anxiety every time I go in for surgery now.
Why? Why, man? I'm taking care of it. It's all the same. I mean, you're making a knife. I'm doing brain surgery. It's just.
No, it's like I'm going into operation right now, and I'm like, so you talk to us on Instagram. So now whenever I go to surgery, I'm gonna think the surgeon's looking at like hot chicks and cars and whatnot on Instagram, and then walks in. Okay, I'm gonna cut this dude open.
My Instagram is just full of knives. That's really it. It's just knives on there.
Oh man. Okay, let me ask this last question, then I'll pass it on over to Frank. You kind of alluded this to earlier about the secondary, but let me rework that question a little bit. Do you think about the secondary market when you think about your prices? So if you make a knife like your MK1, I don't remember how much they went for, 700 to 800, right? That's about what they sold for.
They in the 600s.
600s, okay. See, I don't.
The starting's in mid six.
Okay, mid six. Okay, and then all of a sudden on the secondary, literally every one of your MK1Ss or whatever they were, the micros are double that on the secondary. Would you think about raising your prices? Do you think about that? Do you look at the secondary to see where your prices are going up?
I have to, but I don't let it affect my judgment. Like I said, I've been in this community for a long time. I've seen many makers come and go. Not just about as a knife maker, as a collector as well. And every time I see someone come and go, it's whenever they sell a knife for $600 and their secondary hits $1,200, and then all of a sudden their prices are $900 now. You can't ever meet your secondary because you're going to put yourself out of business. Because half your guys want to buy your stuff because they love your stuff. Half the guys buy your stuff because they can make a quick buck. But everyone buys custom knives because they know it's a viable investment. Why do you spend $1,500 on a knife, Frank? Because you like it, but also
I love it. Yeah.
If you get bored of it in 2 months, you're going to either make some money, break even, or lose $100. It's not that big of a risk.
Yeah.
To buy $1,500 knife.
Yeah.
Now, that's. Go ahead.
These BBMs are as good as gold, man. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
It's better than gold, to be honest. Unless me and Rob fuck the community over and everyone hates us tomorrow.
I mean, you could do that. You could just be Yeah,
you could do it. But besides that, gold's good forever, but gold drops in value very rapidly. Knives don't really, unless you fuck over the community.
Yeah.
Well, even there's some people that do that and their knives still are fine, which is strange. Different topic.
In time, you give it a year, not how many years, but like the community rolls over so often and the stuff just gets buried.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't know what's going on. Like, for example, like if this guy fucked over the community and a year later, what he did to the community is not going to be on his Instagram. You have to go to other people who've mentioned him, and like it's just a lot of back work. But then there's like accounts out there who bring out this dirt all the time. Not to mention names again, but that's how it comes out again.
Yeah. So I want to highlight one of the things you said, because it's like one of the smartest things anybody has ever said about the knife market in general. And once you raise those prices on your base models and your table prices go up, you can never drop those prices ever again. You got to commit to that.
That's what I always. It's like it looks bad if you drop your prices, one, and two. Even when I price stuff, it scares the hell out of me because I'm trying to price long term. Like I said, I'm 22. I got at least 40 years ahead of me if this is the only job I'm be doing, and I have to make it last. So everything I do, I try to hold its value. Like if you see, I don't make many knives with high-end materials. I can, but I feel like I make less money on those, and just because I have very set in stone processes. To keep my costs down, to make sure I could charge what I charge for my knives, and whenever I throw in like Damascus blade or Damascus handle or something like that, it just throws the process to whack. Out of whack because I work on many knives at a time, and I'll grind 10 blades, I'll sandblast 10 blades or satin grind 10 blades, whatever it is, and then all of a sudden I got to hand rub this blade, one out of the 9 blades, and then that throws it all out of whack. So now I have to set up my hand rub station and do all that.
Yeah, that makes so much business sense, and I think I'm not going to name names or anything. There's a lot of people out there that doesn't have business sense. That's in the knife. They're really good knife makers, but when they start thinking about it as a business, they don't click in that sense. And that's so smart to know not to do that, because in a sense, you could be setting yourself up for suicide, just like you said. Like you raise those prices, and then the fad goes down, and all of a sudden your bubble has burst, and now you can't sell the knives anymore at table price.
And we both, all four of us, have seen that happen many times. I've seen many makers come and go in 2 years.
Right. So, I mean, like you said, that is the perfect way to set yourself up, just like you've been saying for a very long time. That's smart.
Yeah. Well, once I made this a business, I changed my entire thinking on this. Like, I could have been at a different stage right now, but I looked at from now, it's more of like, now it's a career. I'm 20. Like I said, I gave myself till I was 21. Those first 2 out of those 3 years, I looked at it as that was my college semester. I was researching processes, seeing what machinery I needed to buy, saved up, bought that machinery. I was kind of always breaking even, buying and building what I needed to make. Half the machines I have in my shop are custom built that I built for specific tasks.
Awesome.
Like I have a big shop now. Like I said, I started on a 4x4 table. Then I moved into a 10x10 room. Then I moved out to Jersey for 2 years and roommated with another knife maker / steel seller, and I used to share a shop out of their warehouse. And my area there was a 5x10, but I had the rest of the shop that was kind of co-shared. And now I'm in a 1,800 square foot facility.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I don't use it. I'm using like 800 square feet. It just what happened in New York back. I'm not gonna get into it, but it's on my Instagram. When I first moved back to New York, I got kind of fucked, and I was out of work for 7 months. I got scammed on a lease, and I found this new shop for the same price, but instead of 700 square feet, it was like 1,800 square feet. It just needed a lot of work, and it was supposed to only take 2 months. But Con Edison, the electrical company here, is very slow, and it took a long time, which gave me time to fix up the place.
Cool. Okay, awesome,
wow,
sweet.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well,
so
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know Frank is like dying to ask you a bunch of questions because he's one of your biggest fans, I think.
I think he's the biggest fan of my collaborator work.
Yeah, your collab work with that Rob Carter. Sorry, my mind went.
Well, so I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit looking forward to this, but I got to meet you at Blade, and so it was awesome to meet you and Rob there. And
yeah, they tell you never meet your heroes.
No, man, it was great. It was really, that's not true with you guys. It was a lot of fun hanging out and, playing with knives and just having a great time there. But, I have in front of me 3 of these BBMs because you're right, I do. I love this knife. I like your regular knives too. I'm going to try to buy one here pretty soon. We'll talk about that later. but I want to know the BBM story. I think a lot of people like these knives. There were only a few of them. It's sort of a mystery. I just wanted to hear it from the maker himself. Like, tell me the BBM story.
It started first with me and Rob talking. Should we talk about the knives, or just how me and Rob started working together?
Just how did you meet? Like, how did you and Rob, I don't know, come together with the idea? Like, where did you guys meet up and talk about this? And then how did the idea come together?
It could be about 7 years ago, I think. I asked the question on USN about detents, and he just dropped his phone number. And we talked for like 4 or 5 hours, and after that, since then, we've just been talking a lot. And
Awesome.
we taught each other. It wasn't like we taught each other a lot of stuff. He was very old school. I was very new school, and he taught me a lot of the fundamentals. And I showed him a lot of things I learned and just the improvements and whatnot. But we first did the MK16 collab, and that was kind of where I flew down there. And he showed me how to make some knives in person. And I've made some folders prior to then, but I made about 10. And half the stuff was just stuff that I figured out myself. I never knew like the right way to do certain things. Like, for example, if this lock is sticking, why is it sticking? And he showed me some of the folder making principles. And we just went on from there. And we tried to do a collab. A production collab with the MK16. That didn't really fall through. This was 2.5 years ago or so. Well, then we wanted to make some more M16s, custom versions. But we decided not to do it. It was a very long knife, and with my new design styles, I didn't really like it anymore. It was I guess it was a little more organic than I do now. A lot of my stuff now is very linear, very straight lines, very subtle arcs. I don't really like rounded edges, round corners, stuff like that. I like chamfers and bevels and just straight lines. And I saw this BBM. It was a very interesting, funky knife, but it was 3 inches, and I said, let's do another collab. This time you fly down to me. I've been by you twice. And we decided to do about 40 of them. And I wanted his originally BBM, the principle was to be very bare and plain. And that was the idea behind the knife. It kind of expanded past that a little bit later. And I wanted to try to make it look very simple. That's the whole one screw construction in the back, with how that one screw goes through the pocket clip and then into the frame.
Yeah, through the spacer and into the frame. That's really clever. And it's hidden on the front. Yeah,
so the front looks concealed, and the back has no screws in the frame. It just goes all the way through with the clip and.
Very clean look. It's awesome.
And yeah, it even let me do the hidden lanyard, which I would love to do on my designs, but none of my designs really allow me to do that. It just worked out on that one. And so he came down here. We did it. We did mess up a little bit on the knife. There were some time constraints that got messed up. Like, we were supposed to do about half of them while he was here. And my his water jetter unfortunately blew up, so we got delayed, and we didn't get parts until midway through his trip. And the project got expanded throughout a year between shipping parts back and forth, and it wasn't designed to where we were going to ship parts back and forth. We wanted to all do it in-house.
Yeah.
And as to all those questions that we were getting where you guys posted, where more BBMs, we made 40. We are talking about them based on the demand. We might do 25 more towards the end of the year. There's no guarantees on it yet. We're talking about it. We want to see how we're going to do it, but we might have some more eventually. And those probably are going to just be made and open and first come, first serves. They will be a little bit more in price because we started those at $500, and there was a little bit of error on our part with that. They're not going to be much more, and they're probably going to be made in entirely different style. So, the same blade, I might grind some, and the handle options are all probably going to be a little different. Just
nice.
That's
you have my attention. That's amazing. That's great.
It might not happen, but here's all these details.
Yeah, that's great. No, I appreciate it.
Well, it gets very hard on collabs because, there's a collab where I can make all the parts and send it to him. But then there's a collab where it's how we usually do it is we like to do it in each other's shops. So it's we have to do it, make a certain amount of knives while I'm there, he's here to kind of pay for the trip to travel, and then make the parts. And I could also do another type of collab where I make the parts, send them off to him. But those get a little hard logistically because I have to figure out how much it costs me to make my part, how much it costs him to make his part. If he's here and we're kind of working on them together, it's easy to split the profits 50-50.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I guess next to follow that up, kind of what parts did you make of this and what parts did he make?
He ground the blades entirely. That was him. I machined the blades up to the fuller and I gave it to him. He ground the swedge. He ground the blade. He sharpened it. he treated them together. All the handle work, I mean, machining is me. I machined all the parts, the clip, the backspacer, the handles. And then after that, once the parts are machined, then he ground the blades. It's all about 50-50. I've set half the locks, he set half the locks. I finished half the handles, he finished half the handles, half the blades I did, half he did. Like all the finish work and assembly and making the folder, that's all kind of 50-50.
That's awesome.
But he had the dedication of the blade, and I had the dedication of machining and doing all the handle patterns.
That's cool. That's really awesome, man. I'm just a huge fan of this knife. Like I'm almost starstruck just because I've just been a big fan. I randomly just saw it. Like, to be honest, I was following Rob. I had the Talon for a little while, so I was following him, and I saw that you guys are posting this, and I just randomly signed up for it. I had no idea, and then it showed up like 6 months later with like no real like fanfare at all. It was just like, oh, here's a box. What is this? And I opened it up, and I was like, oh my god, this is an amazing knife. This is perfect.
We were shipping parts back and forth, so it's like, oddly, we were working on here and there as we went. Like, we finished the last of them right before that auction. So, like, when I was there a month ago, like 3 weeks ago, that was the last of them. But the last of the orders were done, like, 4 months ago. And if you see the engraving on yours, it says April 2017. That's when we started.
Yeah, actually, no, come to think of it, I'm going to look at these right now. I've got 3 of them here. This is
the middle of the spine, I guess. It says NCC-RCC, or RJC, and then says 0417.
Yeah, they say that, yeah. Wow. I got mine another reason it was special to me is I got mine on my birthday. And so it was like the day it arrived, just like I didn't know it was coming. It was my birthday, and it was like there. It was really cool. So
yeah,
that was
I
nice.
know Rob finished yours because it has the black tie. He did all the black tie finishes.
Oh man, just such a nice knife. Well, thanks for telling me that story, man. I appreciate that. That's I think a lot of people like this knife, and they'll appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
So moving on,
I might make more on my end. I'm not making folder versions to keep them simple and separate. If I make them, there might be a BBM slip joint or a BBM automatic. Still kind of figuring that out.
Okay, I mean, sign me up. Sounds
the slip
good.
joint would be cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Slippies are hot right now.
That may be relevant for your carry. I mean, in New York, that's a question a little bit later.
Like I said, I got 2 knives in my pocket right now. I got my MK1 number 4 and an automatic, and then parts for a knife, a blade and a lock side and a backspacer in my pocket.
That's like awesome. So random. You just pull it out in the subway or something.
Well, that's to prove to the cop that I make these things at least.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good idea. Well, so speaking of making knives, you mentioned this briefly a little while ago. You had some new knives planned this year. Can we talk about those? What's going on?
So currently, one of the new knives, I'm actually working on the CAD as we're talking here. I'm doing a battle song, prototyping it this month.
What?
Yep.
Okay, sweet.
Doing the run of battle songs, probably in 2 sizes. The first one's gonna be that standard size of 4.5-inch blade. I want to do a 3.5-inch version too, because no one seems to make small custom battle songs. I've seen Santiago make a couple, but like a lot of like the Benchmade 53s, I believe. They're not as flippy, they're not as like flipper friendly, and they're not competition spec. But for an EDC, it's easy to put in your pocket. And like I said, I carry anything really. I'm hoping on the fact that I'm a knife maker that they'll let me slide. I'm just taking that chance, but I don't recommend that. What else? We didn't talk about this, but some of those battle songs, I'm not gonna name who. They're gonna be collabs, so I'm probably gonna send out like assembled battle songs and have other makers grind and finish them. There's a couple makers in line for that. What else is there? Oh, the long-awaited Valkyrie and Ragnarok that I've been talking about for like 4 months. But every time I'm trying to work on something else, the MK1 gets in the way. Like when I was going to launch the pre-order for the Ragnarok and Valkyrie, my water jet had made the wrong parts. He was supposed to make me micro handles, and he made me 20 sets of large MK1 handles. And so I'm like, well, I have these handles. I might as well make blades and make these things because I already have the handles, and that postponed that. But I'm working on those right now. Okay. But I need to launch the Valkyrie and the Ragnarok. Hopefully, probably start of August, I'll launch the pre-order for that.
Cool. Awesome.
Those are 3.5 inches long.
I'm looking forward to those a lot. I like those designs. Definitely like the MK1 also, for sure.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to pre-order.
When I started, I was going to do like Will Moon style, I guess. MK1, MK2, MK3. But it gets a little hard to when you get more models. Like you never like customers will never really remember the numbers. I feel like once there's like 5, 10 models or whatever, I don't think people know the name to the model. So I always like Norse mythology, and I decided to go the Norse mythology route.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
They're good names. Yeah. So I like these designs. Like I like the MK1, I like the BBM, but tell us about this is my last question. What is your idea of a perfect like folding knife? You make these things, but
MK1.
MK1, that's it. That's your idea. I like it.
Sub 3-inch, perfect EDC size. Tanto, like I said before, you get 2 edges. You got 2 tips, and we talked about off recording. So my favorite DC is a Tanto, because when you use a knife, you're using the tip. Now with a Tanto, you have 2 tips, and like a lot of tactile knives, they have the philosophy where you don't got to angle your wrist, so it's like use the front of the knife. And with a Tanto, you don't got to go all the way to the front. You just got to move your wrist a little bit to use that lower tip. And that's how I open all my boxes, do whatever I got to do. Even when I'm cooking, I used to make kitchen knives as well. I don't make them anymore, but like I never made these for sale. Most of the kitchen knives I have in my kitchen are Tantos, because when I'm cooking, I plant that lower tip down, and I just slide. And then whenever you're cutting on a ceramic plate, it doesn't actually dull the knife, because only that little tip gets dull. But your actual cutting slicing edge doesn't get dull.
Cool.
Now, I don't know if that's a philosophy in like Japanese kitchen knives that are some are Tantos, or that's just something I was doing, but it made sense to me.
Well, that's cool. That's good to realize that. Well, I'm gonna have to get one of those MK1s then, please. That'll be great.
They're so nice.
Yeah,
small.
That's what the Qs are.
We have a little plan. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully, I can talk about this if you're okay with it. I'm gonna send you this bar of Cuser right now. This copper and zirconium bar I bought at Blade Show, and
big ass bar.
Yeah, let's make an awesome knife out of it.
I feel like you spent more materials at Blade Show than you did on knives, based on the shit you told me you bought.
I spent. I'm just gonna be honest. I spent $1,000 buying materials there. Yeah.
That seems like a lie, because that piece was like 6 something.
Yeah, that one block was $600, and then the other block was $380. I gave that to Andre Thorberg actually for a project, so we'll see about that.
Yeah, we still got to talk about that, because I got like 6 different versions of a knife in my notes.
Yeah, I change my mind every 3 seconds, and eventually we'll come up with something that works. It'll be fine.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Well, I'm going to transfer over to Tyler here, because he's got some questions too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I must say, I'm in agreement with Nick that Tanto, man, that is definitely my blade of choice. So I had a couple of quick questions. The first is, what's your favorite show to attend as a maker? I know that you said you were a collector, but I know I obviously met you at Blade Show this year, which was super cool. It was really enjoyable playing with the knives that you brought. But yeah, what's your favorite show? Are any logistical nightmares or anything like that?
I got you. My answer's a little spread out. It depends on what. Like, I like the New York show because it's simple. I live 40 minutes away.
Right.
I don't need a hotel. I just drive over the bridge and I'm there, hang out all night, and then I drive back. I can sleep in my own bed, and my shop is like 15 minutes away. So that's easy. I like Blade Show, but that's because I haven't attended it as a maker. I don't like shows with tables because, to be honest, I'm working on a lot of orders right now. And I like to just attend the show and walk around, talk to people, learn some things, shop around for materials, and it also makes it not so stressful the month before. Like you see all these guys, no sleep till Blade Show, this and that for the prior month. I put all my stress into that week prior just to bring like knives that are order deliveries. I don't walk around selling stuff, but like I'll look at my orders and I'll be like, hey, are you going to Blade Show? No, yes. Do you want me to bring it to you? And I do that. Now, I think USN I haven't been to the USN show yet, but I'm trying to go this year. I think that'll be my favorite show. The only thing I don't like about the New York show, there's not really any pit, and I go to Blade Show for the pit. I don't go for the show.
Right.
As you guys were talking about your Blade Show episode, the pit's the best part of that show. And USN, what I understand, there's a similar thing to the pit, but then everyone goes around on the Vegas Strip. So like, I just go to shows to see friends that I talk to all year that I don't see in person.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah, you know, the feeling I got from Blade is that it's like the fun part was meeting all the people that you talk to. It's not just walking around these tables, but like talking to people for months beforehand and then culminating in an event.
This was your first Blade?
That was my first one. Yeah.
This was my fifth, and I still was not I didn't get a table. This was going to be my first year to get a table. What happened was 6 months after I paid for my table, they released like the show floor plan, and I saw this thing about a new room.
Oh,
and whenever I saw they put me in
no.
that new room, I told them, I'm like, this was not in the contract, and there was no talk about a new room, so they actually refunded me. Usually they won't do that. And now in the new contract it says floor plan schedule to change or something like that. So they can't. Like, I guess I wasn't the only person that they didn't want to be in the new room.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's like half a mile away. I didn't realize it was all the way around the corner.
Well, to be honest, man, that second room did not get as much foot traffic. I was in there maybe 5% of the time.
Yeah.
It was just I wasn't there very
I'm
much.
glad that I canceled because I wouldn't have been able to leave. Like, if I had to leave my table to go buy materials, I would have been gone for like an hour.
I feel like they weren't connected very well. They just need to be connected better. You had to walk all the way around the building to get there.
Yeah.
Well, when I saw the layout, I thought it was right next door. I thought it was right up the escalator. I didn't realize it was all the way around the corner down to the end.
Well,
Right.
So it was actually accessible from the main room and the floor before walking all the way around. The problem was that they weren't using those doors.
Yeah, I heard you mention that, but I didn't even know that was a thing. If they do that with a big ass sign, that would be cool. What I was talking with other people, it would be cool if they put all the material makers and stuff like that in there.
In like one room together.
Makers go there after the show, before the show, and like new hobbyists, they put them all there instead of them being scattered out. Like, there's a lot of materials I want that I've seen before on Instagram. If they're at a booth, it's easy to find them, but if they're at a table, it's hard. Like I said, this is my 5th year. I made it to all of 9 tables this year. This is the most unaccomplishing show I've ever had. I literally went to deliver some knives and just hang out at the pit the whole time. I left the show at like 3 o'clock every day. Went to eat, then go drink and hang out at the pit. Like, I accomplished nothing in that show.
Makes total sense.
But I mean, that's the fun of it. It's a good time, though.
100%.
But there were so much things that I needed to go see and buy that just because I just really wasn't doing much at the show, I would be stuck at booths and tables for a while. After I left, I was like, oh crap, I forgot to go buy that. I forgot to go check this out, talk to this guy.
That happens to everybody. That happened to me last year and this year.
Yeah, me too.
So Nick, you said you've been collecting knives for a long time. Are there any other sort of EDC stuffs or hobbies that you're into, or things that you collect?
I just like doing work in my hands. I was never a collector guy. Like, I only got into knife-wise. I never understood the whole thing of collecting, to be honest. I got into collecting knives just because I liked them so much, and I felt like if you're collecting, you become part of the community, and I like the whole community thing. Besides that, I'm just very concentrated to knives. If I collected anything else, and if I wasn't in New York, it'd probably be guns.
Fair enough.
I've shot guns I robbed, and it was very fun, and it's also something that I feel like if I understood, I could make things for them because I have a CNC. And I feel like the collecting aspect now, I rather just put my money into machines. So what I collect now is machinery. New machines make me happy.
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of hand it over to the guys, and we're going to jump around some community questions.
Well, I just have a list here of some of the questions. So I wanted to go ahead and say thank you to everyone who subscribes to the Knifecast on Instagram and who asks us questions and things. We posted a question to the community on all of our pages about, what do you want to ask Nick Chuprin? And so we have a list here, and I wrote some of them down, and we're going to go through them. So, Nick, the first question that I got was, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? That was from Compound Grind. Thank you, Compound Grind, for that one.
I have no fucking idea.
All right, next question. Favorite steel? This is a better question. What is your favorite steel to work with, and why?
So I've worked with a plentiful amount of steels. Like, anything New Jersey Steel Baron sells, I've worked with, because like the shop that I was renting space out of for 2 years was New Jersey Steel Baron. Some collectors know who they are. Most knife makers know who they are.
You want to give them a little plug? Like, I know they make this Nitro V that was on the BBM. What's the deal with them?
So Nitro V is starting to become one of my favorite steels, mainly because of accessibility. I haven't done too much testing with it, but besides, like, normally available, favorite steel is either ABL, easy to work with, easy for me to get. For me, it's not about the steel too much, because in reality, it's customized. Most people don't use them. It's easy to work with, and more besides that, it's ease of availability. Because collectors don't think about this, but for knife makers, not every steel is always available in the stock you need. My favorite steel is CTSX HP, and that's because it's easy to get depending on what time of year it is, because it depends on their yearly roll. And then the supplier I buy it from, it comes pre-surface ground, and I don't have a surface grinder, so it makes things easier. Besides that, I use ABL a lot, and now I'm using Nitro V. The only thing I don't like about Nitro V is it's very hard to heat treat. Like, I don't know like, a lot of knife makers are still messing around with it, but I heat treated a batch right before Blade Show, and that stuff fucking amazed me. So when you heat treat stuff, you wrap it in foil, you put it in the heat treat oven, 1950, almost 2,000 degrees, and then once you pull them out and rapidly quench them and drop them down to 150 degrees, that's when the steel becomes hard, and that's about 65, 66 Rockwell. At that point, if you really drop the blade and if it falls at a weird angle, it could shatter if it hits concrete. When I pulled them out and quenched them, they were dead soft. Like, when you touch the blades together, it was a dull noise. It didn't sound like glass. And I was like, this isn't hard. So I proceeded with the formula. And whenever I put them in cryogenic treatment, which is putting them in dry ice for nitrogen for negative 300 degrees, I pulled them out, and they became hardened after the cryo cycle. And I've never seen this before. Like, even, like, when you temper a blade to pull it back to your knife hardnesses, like 60, 61 Rockwell, and it gets like a bronzish tint because this steel tempers at 500 degrees. It stayed silver. It didn't get this bronze tint. That was the first thing that weirded me out. But when I pulled it out of cryo, the blades came out like a chocolate bronze color, like a dark bronze, and at that point they were hard. And then I proceeded with the tempers, and it came out proper at the end. But every step that I made just made no sense to any prior history of heat treating that I have. And
then you test your blades for hardness?
Not every blade. Every time I use a new steel, I'll test it. Because I don't have a tester, I have to go to usually Steel Bear and then test it.
Okay.
So if it's a new steel and the first time I did that formula, I'll test it. And then the second batch, sometimes I'll test too. But I do everything in-house. Heat treating, I outsource. So if I'm doing a batch of knives, I send them out. Because every time you heat treat blades yourself, you always cut yourself in that foil. Every knife maker knows this dreaded foil. You cut yourself, and it's like a paper cut times 10. They suck.
I don't know, but that sounds awful.
But the largest batch I've ever heat treated with the BBMs with Rob. When I got my electric bill for that month of heat treating 40 blades for another $10 in the bill, like the bill difference, that's what it would have cost to outsource them and get it professionally done.
Shit! Wow.
It just doesn't make sense. I only heat treat 10 blades and less because after that, because it's the same cost to heat treat 4 blades as it is 20 blades. So it doesn't make sense, logistically and time-wise, to heat treat blades in-house. Plus, I'd rather have a professional do it because they come back cleaner and flatter. Like Damascus, I do that all in-house if it's a new steel or if I'm doing a small batch of prototypes. I'll do that in-house.
Cool. Josh, you want to ask a couple?
Sure. But while we're talking about steel, before I forget, I wanted to ask you, on my MK1S, how did you finish this Damascus? I've never seen this before.
So that was originally personal for me. But like I said, my personal knives, I use them hard. Like yesterday, I cut a zip tie on this holding steel rods together. I didn't even care. So at that time, I didn't really think about it. I knew this. It completely flew by me when I was making that knife. As a lot of people know, like the traditional Damascuses are not the best user steels because there is a non-hardening steel in the mix. So, like, your edge, there's parts that aren't hardened because it's 304 stainless steel. So right when I made that knife, I tumbled it because I wanted it to have, like, a somewhat user finish. That's what that is. It's just Damascus that's tumbled. And when I finished it, I realized, then it hit me, and I was like, oh, wait, this is not the best user steel. That's why I ended up deciding to sell it. And when I'm going to build myself a new one, it's either going to be Damas steel or some sort of Sanmai. But I did get the chance to make some performance stainless Damascus with Rob.
Oh,
so
sweet.
soon I will be making my own materials as well. because when I first started making knives, I always had this dream of making a saw off the ship before that became a thing. When it was only like a blacksmithing thing. And my idea always was a carbon, people that I knew where this was possible for me, carbon steel blade, even though it's a folder, local made bolsters, and carbon fiber scales. Because these, in my head, these were the things that I think I could make. I never imagined making performance stainless Damascus and titanium Damascus. That never came to me. Now that's like, oh, this is a possibility. And eventually I'll have a saw off the ship knife as my user.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah. The feel on this Damascus, like the finish, it feels like it's been like ran over with like a crayon. That's what my wife described it. It's weird.
Yeah, I think that's just that pattern. I don't remember what it was. It was Rob Devin Thomas before it became Vegas Forge.
Yeah. It's cool. I don't know. I always wondered. It's very, very unique. But let's get back in with the community questions. And we had this one guy. He goes by Waz, not Waz. He is an awesome dude with a bunch of really nice knives. But other than that, he had like a 3-part question for you. And you've already answered number 3, which was, do you own or carry any of your own knives? So I'm not going to ask that again. But one of the questions he asked was, what's the difference between a knife maker and a knife designer?
It's in the name. The maker makes it. The designer designs it and sends it out. And
okay.
That's the problem with knife designers, in my opinion. They don't know what it takes to make a knife. So a lot of their stuff doesn't work for a long time until the designer becomes a seasoned designer. He doesn't know what he's doing in the sense of we're like, that's not a functional knife. And it's like that blade just does not fit in that handle, for example. It might look beautiful, but that blade won't fit in that handle, or that knife won't function, or something like that. So the designer is just drawing stuff to look visually appealing to him. A knife maker has to look at all around, and there are makers who are just makers that use other people's designs, or they start working off of another design and they draw around it. Or then there are, like, I consider myself an all-around maker. Like I make, I design, I test, I do everything in house. And that's a very big goal of mine as a maker, is to be all around. I want to I can make a knife with an angle grinder and a hand drill, all the way down to a forge and blacksmith it, or with a CNC. You give me whatever equipment, I'll make some sort of knife with it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And the second part that he asked was, how do you strike the balance between making the knife you want and making the knife that is good for the market at the time? And the example he used is the trend for smaller knives right now. You've kind of alluded to that, but that was his question.
By not following the trends, by looking at if you look at production knives, they're all kind of none are super wide and beefy, or they're kind of this simplistic balance to them. So I keep kind of a simplistic balance. I don't make a knife that's giant and long. Like, I won't make a knife over 4 inches, or even 3 3/4. The largest knife I made was a Mark 1 MK. When I first made the MK1, there was 3 sizes: the micro, the S, which is what you have, which I just called MK1 now, and then there's the large, which I haven't made in like 6 years. That was the first. I made like 4 of those, which it's the same width exactly as the MK1, it's just longer. And that was 3 3/4, and I'm like, this is a very large knife. Like, I won't EDC that. So it just there's these certain constraints that just kind of will work with time, is what I think would work with time.
Okay, yeah. Like, we talked about it in the past, but it's smart. And the other thing you said, you're not going to make a knife that you don't want to make anyways.
I won't make a knife if I don't carry it. Like, I'm a maker. Like, I could make a knife that'll appease the community. I could just throw a bunch of Damascus into the thing and inlays and whatever it is. But if I don't carry it, or I won't want to buy it, I won't make it. And I'm not trying to make a knife for everyone. There's thousands of makers out there.
Right.
So you don't like my style, there's the guy that you scroll down 2 photos, there's another knife maker right there. How Instagram works. It's like, you don't like my stuff, you like his. Eventually I make a design you like, then you might like mine. If you try to appease everyone, you're gonna it's a fighting battle you're gonna lose. Yeah,
it's very, very true. And then I have another question. It was a really interesting question. The guy's name is Blake Barco on Instagram, and he asked if there was one piece of knife innovation that you wish you could come up with yourself, what would it be? And if there is a future innovation that may or may not be possible to pull off, do you think about stuff like that, or are you working on stuff like that?
Yeah, so I saw a question. I also was thinking about that. One that I wish I came up with was the non-flip, not the non-flipper flipper, but I don't know what Lee Williams calls his the kickstop.
Kickstop, yep.
It's very simple and it works, and it just makes. I love the flipper tabs. I love flippers, but I hate the aesthetical constraints with a flipper tab, and he solves that. And I also like that you could use different materials. Like I said, I don't like materials to be giant. I like aesthetics, a backspacer, a pocket clip. That flipper tab is nice because you can switch out your material on like small inlays and pivot collars. One that I wish I could invent, which is one that I've been thinking about. So I like the HRD that Hoback has, and I've talked to another maker about this, so it kind of gave me the idea. And it seems like it needs a lot of precision that I just don't have the skill for right now. But like the HRD, I like it because that roller detent, that's the only place that you can't really remove friction on a folder. But I don't like that you can't really get a hard detent with the HRD, so I'm trying to think of a different way to do that.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. The who was it? The Holt Blade Works. They've kind of got, it's not a roller detent like you're describing, but they've came up with an adjustable detent.
Yeah, there's an adjustable tension. To be honest, I don't think that really matters.
Yeah,
because the depth doesn't really dictate the detent strength. It's the offset of Holt to detent. So I don't really get that one too much. I think that's just an ease for them to adjust. But as for clients to adjust it, I don't get it too much. Maybe if I hadn't played around with it, I only see like if they make the detent stick out a lot further, it makes the tension on the lock bar greater. That might just make it harder to detent, but in reality, that's not that. If they were able to adjust it side to side, that would adjust the detent. I don't get the philosophy behind that too much, but I would like to see it in person and mess around with it.
In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, user adjustable detents are just terrible things because users don't know how to adjust things. They don't know what they're doing. I like when a maker just hands me a perfect thing. Yeah. You know how to set a detent. It's done. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think it's just for them, for their building, because like, crap. I think it's the Torrent might have the adjustable lock bar.
Does it?
Am I wrong?
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, which one is the most recent knife that they did with Knife Designer?
That is the Torrent, yeah.
Okay, so it's the Torrent. So he showed me the prototypes at Blade Show. It's under the scale. There's a second screw. So there's one screw coming in from the inside of the frame and one screw coming out from the outside of the frame. And the reason they're offset like that, so whenever you screw them tight, the lock bar insert binds. But if you unscrew them, the lock bar insert moves up and down. And it's not really meant for customers to mess around with it. If they wanted to, they can, I guess. But in reality, it's meant for millet, so that way they could set locks much easier. Instead of grinding it, they could adjust that insert because it has a ripple of movement. Now, I guess they haven't publicly said that because they don't want customers messing with it. So disregard what I just said, but that's
I don't know.
But I mean, if you have one, you can take it apart and figure that out. So yeah, it's fine.
This was the prototypes, at least, that I saw back at my Blaze show last year. They did that. So that's more of how I look at the Holt system. But I don't like it on the production knife. Adjustability is cool, but like on customs, I don't want customers messing with the product I send them in functionality aspects. So now, like, if the detent's too light, because the customer wanted it that light, and for example, let's say the knife opens in their pocket because of that, and they cut themselves and they sue me because of them, I can't prove it. It's because they made the knife not as functional as I sent it. Because you can't really sue me unless you cut yourself because the mechanism fails. Like every knife that I've ever sent out, I have a video of me spine whacking that knife before I sent it out in the finished stages. And some people have seen those videos, but there's a knife for every single knife I have a folder on my computer of that knife being spine whacked. And someone told me back when I first started, smart to do for legal reasons. So that way, if someone's knife ever does slip and they cut their finger off and they try to sue me for a malfunctioning knife, I could send them that I could fight for user error. I guess.
Does that ever happen?
No, but it takes 2 seconds, and I take videos and photos of every knife that I send out anyway.
Cool. It's always good to cover your ass, no matter.
Yeah, and then if they say the knife failed because I messed up, I could say when I left my shop, it was perfect. I don't know what you did since then.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. Go ahead, Frank. Ask a couple more. These are the ones that were on my page, and the rest of the questions on my page were BBM, 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 and this guy said something else about a BBM.
Well, that was
I think
that was
there
a
was
pretty.
some more about VBMs and emails I got after those questions.
I'm pretty sure that Nick gets questions about that every day. Rob said that he gets DMs every single day about these
Yeah,
BBMs.
he gets
so.
them, I get them, and he sends them to me just because he wants me to get more people to ask. And I
Yeah.
tell him stop doing that. So what I'm gonna start doing is forwarding to Frank because he has a quarter. I mean, he has 10% of equity in
You
VBM.
know, can I just comment? Like, did I single-handedly make this happen, or is it actually because the knife is so awesome? Like,
No,
the knife is very good.
Both.
So we and Rob actually talked about that. We had a lot of interest for them before and prior and after, but like you just the amount that you're posting them and you keep bringing it up I would assume that it definitely has done something. But there was a lot of interest. It's just the killer design that Rob came up with from the start. But yeah, you've definitely shared it a lot. You saying it's one of your favorite knives. It's definitely had done something to it.
Well, that means something.
We're thankful for that as well.
It does. They're so good,
publicity.
man. I bought a bunch of them.
You made me buy one. You made me get one from Hong Kong.
Dude, I'm really glad.
You got another one from Hong Kong? There was two in Hong Kong? I know there was one in Hong Kong that I shipped.
So it was the same. Yeah, it was the same guy that sent the one to Frank that lost. He came up with another one, and we had a mutual friend. His name is Jesse. He goes by Blade Play 13, and he sent me a message. He's like, "Hey, dude, I found a BBM. Do you want it?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want it."
Oh, cool.
Because I've got to keep Frank from having 100% of all the knives. If I have this one, he will never have them all.
No,
Hey,
man,
I want one too. Shit. I like the BBM. When I first got that, when he first sent me the cat files for that thing, I was like, this thing's kind of ugly. I didn't like it. And then when we made the first one, I was like, I actually really like how this looks, and I really like the ergonomics of the thing. And the last one one of the last ones we had some issues that I couldn't figure out. And I was like, Rob, are you okay? Like, if there's a little bit of an issue, I can't figure this out. Can I just make this for myself? He's like, fuck no. So I sent it to him, and he ended up figuring it out. So it ended up being sold.
Oh man, yeah. This one's pretty cool. It's pretty plain though. So.
Well, we didn't want to offer too much. When I made that first one with the zirconium collars, we got so many emails, and then Rob kept forwarding everyone to me because he told me don't do it because the guys in this group are going to want it. And I did it because it was for a local guy who has multiple versions of my knife, and they all had like a Zerk trifecta, backspacer clip, and collars. So I only did it for him because he wanted to keep that theme going of NCC knives.
Right.
I saw that one circulating around. There was the auction piece with the Sanmai, and then there was another one that was kind of similar, but not quite as like fully dressed.
No, that was not that one. That was done at the same. They were done together. It was somewhere midway through the run.
Yeah.
I made 5 with Zerk collars, I believe. But the first one started up a whole bunch of shit because it wasn't part of the original pre-orders.
Yeah, man, I can understand. It must be tough because these things, obviously, you've explained that they're very hard to coordinate to like make it actually happen. And there's a lot of interest. I can't even imagine.
It's, to be honest, I know my following, and Rob knows his. And Rob told me right away that if you do that, you're gonna have a whole bunch of guys follow me. It's the guys that I work with are very different to, I guess, the guys on Facebook, because Facebook, everyone shows it off, and the people who follow his work all see it there. So I guess that it just like if I did that on one of my orders, no one's the wiser. But his marketed guys are a little different. Because they like everyone that follows him is in his group, so like they see something different. It's like, oh, for me, I've gone off the beaten path on the micros, and no one's really asked me for anything else. Like they'll just ask me for that if I could change it or whatever, but they've never said like, oh, I didn't get that option.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Like if you post something or if somebody sees it, you're gonna get a flood of requests.
Get a lot of knife envy. Yeah.
Yeah, I get sometimes like, oh, I want to change my order because I saw this guy's how it looks, but it's not like, oh, I didn't get that option. Because in my pre-order, I said, if you see something that's not in the pre-order and you offer, just let me know. I'll see what I can do.
Well, I've got a couple of other good questions here. What knife makers inspire you? Like what what people like inspired you to get into making knives? I think you touched on a couple of them, but if you could name like, 3 or 5 knife makers that just like are awesome to you and why.
Wait. Have you guys been saying the names of the people?
Yeah, sorry, I should have said that one.
Yeah.
That one came from Tom Hobbs. Tom_Hobbs on Instagram there. Sorry, I should have said that.
Yeah, before I thought he was keeping up with the names.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom. And Tyler.
John Barker was way more of an influence for me back in the day than he is now.
Okay.
And that reason is mainly because back in the reason I got into knives weren't because I liked knives. It was entirely besides that. It was because I was amazed that people were making knives by hand. Because I was obsessed with building stuff. Like my parents used to say, I used to love finding where the legs grow out of things. I would take apart all of our furniture, and then by the time they got home, I put it back together just to see where.
Oh shit! Yeah,
that's cool.
You're a tinkerer at heart.
Yeah, so I used to love Barker stuff, and nowadays he kind of Lee Williams, I guess, makes the parts for him, or that's what people say. I don't know, but he doesn't do as much of the work, so that he wouldn't have been as much of an inspiration anymore. But that he was back then. Mayo. If I knew Rob then, probably Rob, because I never saw that F-16 till after I met Rob. It was pretty much anyone that made knives similar to what my aesthetic is now. There were probably some more. I just don't remember. I think I liked Horton stuff back then. This is before the whole Cox and pocket tools and all that. When he did the original FTR with Fellholter. I was obsessed with that thing. I remember that. That was about it. And then Andre too. I had a lot of knives from Andre. Every year at the New York show, I would sit down with him for about 2-3 hours towards the end of the show, and I'll have a notebook, and I'll ask him a bunch of questions, and he'll answer the questions. I'll write it down because him and then all the South African guys used to amaze me. Because I used to talk to a lot about knife makers about process, and everything he's ever told me on everything you have to do on a folder was entirely out the box and different. These weird machines that they built, these weird processes that I've never heard of before. Like, really? He showed me a video back in the day of where I'm like, how'd you contour these frames? Because the first line of lock I did, I had issues of the bolster meeting the scale. Because when you're grinding it, one grinds it way quicker. He had this 8-inch diameter hexagon or something. He pretty much contoured his frames on a lathe by using a big drum, and I was amazed. I was like, how I would never think of that. Man.
You're speaking my language right now. You're like, I'm like, you should see my grin ear to ear.
He does is not like any other knife maker, but Andre, he's from what I know, he's taught most of the South African guys.
Yeah,
he taught a lot of people.
He runs an official class.
Oh, and he's such a nice guy.
And him and then he introduced me to the Venter the second time I met Andre, and then we went out to dinner, and then then I started talking to the Venter after that.
They're great guys.
Those guys amaze me. The way that they're because Andre's very process orientated as well, and anyone who's very into the process that I like to talk to them.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm looking forward to getting a knife from him one of these days, and that's really cool to hear that. Maybe one more question here. Are there any materials now? I think we touched on how there are material fads that kind of come and go, and you're trying to avoid fads. But is there a material out there that you really want to use, something cool that you want to get your hands on? Okay, that came from a guy, MC Volvo.
Yeah, that's that one too. I was thinking about that. Now, one's hard to get, and I never thought about this until last week, whenever I made Damascus. I wanted to find some cool metal that I could put into my Damascus, like maybe I've seen... who's that famous Jesse James? He made some Damascus with cable from the Golden Gate Bridge. So I would like to do something like that, to use some historical metal into my Damascus. I think that'd be cool.
Cut a piece of the Brooklyn Bridge off.
Yeah, I just have an angle grinder and next time Hurricane Sandy happens and we have a national blackout, I'll try that.
Oh shit!
A piece of the bridge.
As a little aside here, he's making some pretty awesome guns and stuff.
But he always because he's famous and he just knows the people. He gets access to shit like that. But I go on eBay all the time looking for pieces of historic metals and stuff like that. I can never find anything. Like
Yeah, I see.
there was one year where I guess some guy sold off a bunch of metal off one of the Apollo rockets or something like that. When I first started making, I just couldn't afford any of it. I wish I was able to find some now.
Oh, that would have been so
There
cool.
was a lot of micarta or the G10 they used for the heat shielding on sale back then, I remember, and a lot of metal parts. So that would have been cool. And something I could buy now, just expensive, and I've never seen anyone use it in the knife community, jeweler's grade Mokume, where it's a mix of gold and platinum and stuff.
Oh man,
That stuff. I've never seen anyone use it in the knife community. I got a friend of mine has a ring with it, and it looks very because the silver and the gold isn't tarnished like Mokume would, so it just keeps that color. And I guess maybe for like a pivot collar or a pivot inlay, something small, because that stuff's expensive, and then it only comes in thin gauges. So like a pivot collar, a pivot inlay, or a small inlay or something. But eventually I'm gonna just buy it and use it for something and sell it. If it was on the order, I don't know who I could ask that's gonna want rare earth metals in a knife.
Are you fucking kidding? Because they're on this podcast.
I'm
Yeah,
Frank.
all
I would
three
love
of
that.
hello.
I've
Hey,
never
bro.
seen anyone use it and anyone ask for it. And
It's like,
we didn't know it existed.
Great Mokume.
Man,
Yeah.
if it's an option, let's do it.
Yeah, hi, I'm
So
Josh.
actually,
Put
I
it
might
on my
build
knife.
Then. But I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
Well, hey, three people that would buy that right now. So there you go.
Well, I found a way to use it, and there's the answer to that question.
Nice. Well, there are a few other questions. I think we touched on a bunch of them. Shy Timber, he said, "How have you evolved?" You talked about that. Let's see. We talked about your carry. We had our friend Mike at Bloomin' Blade ask, "How often do you carry in New York City?" You kind of touched on that. Our mutual friend Ian over there at CMF Metalworks asked, "How do you keep your beard so perfect all the time?"
So you need some thin product for hair. That's a mixture of WD-40, and then my beard is extra thick Tap Magic oil. So you need some thick stuff for the beard. That mixture kind of covers up fronts.
Okay, that's awesome. And then there were about 115 questions about the BBM, which we also talked about. We talked about the Riyadh project briefly. We talked about your machines. And does your lady ever give you any hard times about your knives? That's from Troy Wheatley.
No, I'm not married. I'm currently single. But that
Smart.
clicking, he mentioned something about knife clicking. I saw. And everyone I know gets pissed about the knife clicking. That you all do it. You guys don't even realize you start just flicking and closing the knife.
I do it all the
repeatedly,
time.
but you zone out and you don't pay attention to it. But it bothers every single person in the room.
Oh my gosh, I've started doing it at work in environments where there are 3 or 4 other people in the room that have no idea I have a knife, and they're like, "Oh, hello."
They gotta stop clicking that pen or somewhere, and then they realize you're
Oh,
clicking the knife.
Yeah,
No,
it's great.
Just imagine him doing a pre-op consultation, flicking a knife, and he's like, "Yeah,
Hi, nice to meet you.
my name's Frank. I'm gonna be cutting your brain open right here.
It's a Shiro RFT, the big 4.5-inch blade.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sit here and we're gonna go in behind your eye.
Yeah.
Make a small
right-
incision here
right
and here.
here.
It's like make a small incision while he's flipping this 4.5-inch long blade.
I use it to point at things, point it right at them, just right here.
Oh
no.
man!
I would never do that. Come on now.
Do you have malpractice insurance? I'm just kidding.
Yes, you have to. So yeah, that kind of wraps up all the questions that we had from my 2 lists there.
Yeah, that was awesome, guys. Nick, do you have sort of anything else that you want to give to the community before we wrap things up?
I actually have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Because you guys, I saw your collections have evolved a lot since you first started, especially Frank's. Now, what's the most cherished knife in your collection currently? What are you after currently? And what was that knife that, I told Frank the other day, his addiction for knives, he recently has really expanded in price, and it just become full blown a sickness, and he said it's malignant. When you guys first talked about this, he was under $1,000, and the Resenti was kind of breaking it. But recently, I've seen him kind of really breaking it, and we've all had that. For me, it was one of my basic, or everyone has, but it was a Microtech custom because they were $1,400 back then. I wish it wasn't, because there was not as many options back when I was collecting. I was collecting before Instagram became a thing. So it was a very different market.
I can
Well,
believe that.
I guess I'll start out since we were talking about my collection changing so much. And it's true. I feel like there is an addiction component to this, and all of us here can attest to that. There's like you get the rush of getting something new, and it's totally that
Which
like
comes with getting bored
that
quicker.
It's all
cocaine
dopamine.
high. It's all that fucking nucleus
Yeah.
accumbens just shocking away, and so you get that feeling every time you get a new knife. But I slowly over time, as my collection has evolved, I started small. Like I had a $200 knife, and then I sold it, and I got a $250 knife, and I kind of kept putting small amounts of money into it, and then a little bit bigger. And I tend to keep my collection very fluid. You guys have seen me sell things on Instagram, and so nothing really sticks around forever. But some knives that I've had for a long time. I think the BBM, maybe the oldest knife in my collection right now, the original one. That's
Or
because
the
I've
servo. I think you got those together, kind of.
No, the servo came much later in the year than the BBM. So I've had this for a while, and it's definitely my most cherished knife, just because for me it's a perfect knife. My favorite opening mechanism is the Spidey Flick. It's the perfect size for my hand. The ergonomics are great. It's small, so I can carry it the way that I need to carry it at work, which is in scrubs. So it needs to be lightweight, but it needs to be high quality. To the point where, like, I spent on this Mokutai version way too much money, double the price of the original BBM that I bought. But that's only because over, it's been 3 or 4 years I've been collecting and adding to this fund that now I have a lot of money tied up in a collection, but it kind of gets big, and then I concentrate it into some, better knives. And we've
But
talked
it goes
about
back to that comfort, like I mentioned. You know that if you really needed money tomorrow, and you started selling your knives, you're probably gonna not lose more than 10% on your overall investment of your knives.
Yeah, I could get money back out of these and be okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
everyone was like, "How much do you sell your knives for?" I'm like, "It could be 500 to 5,000, depending what people start wanting to buy, putting in the knife." And everyone's in shock. And like once I always go into the factor of like, well, what do you invest in gold or Bitcoin or whatever? And it's like, yeah, why do you do that? Because if it's a way for me not to spend my money on dumb shit, and if I need money, I'll have money down the line, and it might make me some money down the line. I'm like, knives are just like that. Most knives you buy, it could be worth double in a week to a month, or it's double right when you get it. Or if you sell it 6 months later, you're probably going to make what you spent or almost the same.
I'm very fortunate to have this kind of YouTube and Instagram thing so I can sell them easily. But there's a community out there that is ready to buy knives, and like it's easy to make a good investment per se.
Yeah, you can't really ever go wrong unless like you get unlucky to where like you got a knife and then like a week later the guy fucks over the community, and then like that if you have a big collection in it, it's gonna be worth nothing. And I've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen often because it's a solid community of people, but it happens here and there.
Well, sorry to take up so much time with that. I guess your other question was, what do you have coming? I'm getting one of the new Rob Carter, Frank Fisher Talons, and I'm getting a that's going to be crazy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to get a MK1 from you. Those are my next 2 projects that I got coming up.
Cool.
For me, like I'm the exact opposite of the other 2 here. They're very fluid with their collections. They're okay with selling to fund the next project. Me, I have like a hoarder's mentality. I'm trying to get away from it. I'm actually trying to sell some stuff, but I lust after a knife or a maker's knife, and once I get it, it's really hard for me to sell it, and a lot of times I end up with more than one. Like I have 8 Gavco custom knives, and 6 of them are Tigers.
Yeah, which we have videos on. Those are amazing knives.
It's true.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of Gavcos. I didn't realize they were all like the same model almost.
Yeah, well, the cool thing with Gavcos is even though they're the same model, they never feel like the same knife.
Right. They have different studs and different
Everything's
materials,
everything's a
different
little bit
grinds.
different.
He never makes the same knife twice. It's never the same.
So, and then the way he finishes that Timascus, like all of them are Timascus except for that prototype. The prototype is Zerk. And I don't know, I fell in love with his design language. I fell in love with the way he does them. I will never sell those knives. I'll be 85-year-old dude. And I was like, bury him with me, you know.
I was a similar collector. I didn't rotate much. I was just awful at selling knives. Like, yeah, I'm even awful at. If I had to like look for customers and be a salesman of my knives, I'd be out of business. I'm just like I like this business because like knives are almost like alcohol. They just kind of sell themselves.
Yeah.
And I'm very fortunate that works. I'm a horrible salesman. It's like if you want to buy, yeah, well, you're not gonna break my heart, and I'm just not the best salesman.
Yeah, I always tell my wife because she's like, "Man, you have enough to like start your own knife shop." And I was like, "Are you kidding? Like, if I owned my own knife shop, if I was a retailer, I would go out of business in like 3 weeks because I'd just keep all the knives. I would just keep them all. I wouldn't even sell any. I'd be like, no, I'm not selling it. So like, I had that, and then your MK1, I was really happy I won that. I'm not even gonna, not just because you're here, but I would never get rid of this just because it's special. The thing with me is it's not so much like a specific knife. It's the specific version of a specific knife. Like this one right here is a one-off. Like there's no other one out there like it. And that's what kind of like ticks my brain, like what gets me excited, knowing that nobody else out there has an MK1 like mine. That's exciting for me. And that's one of the things I always try to drive for.
Well, that was exciting for me when I made it for myself, even because I still have like collector tendencies. I was like, well, if I make one for me, it's like I can show photos and like no one has it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It didn't stay in my pocket though.
I'm glad you sold it, and you're gonna make another one because I fell in love with it. I actually do. Like I've told people in the past I don't carry my knives. There's very few knives I will carry, and when I say I carry it, I'm not gonna lie. I do baby them, but like I've carried this knife, and it's all like 3.25 inches. Very, very comfortable. I don't know. I fell in love with it, so I try to put it in my pocket when I can. I went up in price very quickly. Like I went from like a Sheetrock, which was $900 to some other crap, and I've never really kind of defined like, okay, this is too much for a knife. I've always kind of like got settled in a specific price range, and then I see something a tick above my price range and I go crazy for it. And right now my most expensive knife was $3K, and it was a build with Ian. And the reason why it's $3K is it's one of those knives that's got like $2K in materials.
Yeah, when I tell people, I'm like, what the hell is a $3,000-$4,000 knife? I'm like, well, if it's a $3,000 knife, like 40% of that is material cost.
Yeah, and that's the way this one was. It's a liner lock Argonaut model of his. It's got Zircotai scales, and it's got Damascus liners. So the liners are Damascus inside.
I saw that one. That was unique.
Yeah, and that goes back to the second point. I want something that nobody else is going to have. Nobody else is going to have a Damascus liner lock from him because he said he wouldn't do it anymore because it was fucking stupid. His exact words.
I think he's like the second person I've ever seen do that. For that same reason, it's like it's a big waste of money for a little bit of weed on the side, but you like it because it's unique.
Yeah, and he's like, I'm not doing this again. I was afraid I was going to fuck it up, and it's Damascus, so it's like $400 to recut all this shit out and stuff, so I'm not doing that. And I was like, okay, well, fine. I got the only one like it. And then I've been saving a lot of money since I didn't get to go to Blade Show, so I saved all that. And I want to walk away from USN with...
In debt?
Yeah, well, not in debt, but just like no financial security for my future. That's okay. There's a Black Snow custom. I really want one of his knives, so I'm trying to figure out a way to get one of those.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I went there too. I went from a Strider Sabenza. Yeah, I didn't hit anything in between. I literally went from $300 to $1,000. And I kind of stayed in that $700 to $1,000 range. When I just kind of missed everything in between.
That's kind of the sweet spot, to be honest. That's like where things are really, really well done, and you don't really need to go much higher than that unless it's just for like super Grail stuff.
Yeah, and it's weird too because I get just as much enjoyment out of like a ZT as I would anything else. Like a really well done ZT makes me just as happy as a really well done custom knife, to be honest. Like the 920, the Les George Harpy collaboration that ZT did, I love that knife. I mean, it was a $220 knife, and it feels just as good to me as anything else CNC made, really. So
the 801, that was the last knife that I bought before I stopped buying knives. That was right before the ZTs got like good. It was like the 350 and the 305, whatever it is, the 380, the one that they've been making forever. But then like they came out with that 801, the Rexford collab, where they kind of changed the feel of their knives.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was the last thing I bought. I was like, this is really good. And I tell people now, I'm like, if I was a collector now, and what all the knives China was making, and they suit my needs, a lot of compound, I would probably not be a maker if Ryate and we were a thing back then.
They are
so
crushing
good.
the market right now. They are crushing things.
Yeah, enough to where it's made me worry at a point, but then it's like, the reason people buy custom knives aren't because they're super high end and super quality. It's because it's handmade at the end of the day, or that woman made it. So it's still a different thing. And everyone asks you, what's the best knife I could buy for the money? I tell them, not my knife. Go buy something from China. Unfortunately, go buy something from China because they're making some killer shit.
Yeah.
And I have this Wii knife that I got this week, the 811 Integral. It's out of control for $350. It's unbelievable.
Tai Chi. Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I don't know the model. I asked you at Blade Show, what's your opinion on Integral on the market? Because I want to go to Integrals. Unfortunately, when you go Integrals in the custom market, you can't go back. From what I've seen, like I've seen this happen to Dalbor, where like he's gone Integrals and then like his secondary tanked on the non-integral, which everyone wants Integrals. And there's another maker I've seen do that, and you can't really go back. And me doing that, I'm fine with not going back, because it actually makes inventory easier. Instead of 3 parts, you go to 1 part.
Mm-hmm.
But the Chinese integrals have been killing it, so I don't know how that affects the market, because I'm not too much into the integral market. But like that one they made recently with the Soul Design or something like that, it's
the jack, the
React
jack.
Yeah. I handled that.
The double
That's amazing.
with the marble carbon fiber inlay and the X's on the back.
Man.
I literally have it in my hand right now.
Okay, I think that's going to be the first knife that I buy for myself in the past 4 years. It looks so nice on Instagram, and I saw it in person, and I even asked Rob, I'm like, what do you think this costs? He's like, $750. I'm like, he just told me it was $450. And I was blown away. And that's the only thing that's keeping me from going to integrals, is that, like, I don't know how that market's going to get affected within a year because of what they're putting out. Like, we's putting out, like, $300 integrals.
Yeah, this one is $350, and it's I've got it sitting next to my 2 Peter Rosenti's, and I'm like, what? What's happening?
I look at Rosenti as the OG integral guy. So like he has he's known for that. I just feel like I'm saying like new guys getting into it. I don't know where that'll go.
Yeah, I'll make a video about it. It'll be great.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just comparing, because like they're putting out some killer shit.
Yeah, man.
So I didn't hear the first question.
You didn't hear?
No, we know why you're not paying attention.
No, shut up! I didn't hear it.
The question is, what knife do you cherish? What is the one knife that's
cherish?
Like
that was the word I didn't
favorite?
hear. It like
cherish.
Yeah, cherish.
I didn't use that word. I used something a lot dumber.
Yeah, I know the answer to this one.
He's a scholar, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody knows. It's the Andre Thorburn L36M that I picked up at Blade Show 2017 that Andre brought just for me to replace another knife that I had bought. So that one is always going to be the one.
Oh, the one you showed me at the show with the blue and black Zerk?
Blue and black Zerk.
Well, no, it was like blue zirconium for the bolster, the engraved one.
No, that's the Marshall. That's more recent.
I've had 5 Andre Thorburns, and I don't know any of the model. Like, back to why I didn't continue the MK1 thing. I couldn't figure out I couldn't remember the model number to the design. Like, it just never. I had 5 of them. I still don't know any of them.
Oh yeah, they're definitely hard. I know all of Andre's because I'm a fanboy, but that's about it.
And then know you're a true fanboy when you know all the numbers.
The A2 Tanto is the only one I was able to name because it was an A2 collab.
There you go. Was the second question, what's the most expensive knife?
No, what are you working on?
Knife that kind of broke you into, like, you bought knives for 5, 6, 7, and then just broke you, and then that's where you started buying knives 1,000 plus.
Got it. It was so I I did sort of like what Frank did, I think, which is I traded my way up the ladder. And so I used Reddit. I'm a bit like, so I think Nick said you don't like Reddit, but I've been a Redditor for 5 years, long before I got into knives or did any knife stuff on Reddit. So I love that website, but, basically, like, you know, get a $300 Wii knife, get a $400 this, or whatever, and then like trading those knives plus cash for higher end knives. And so the first few like nice, or like, I don't know, name brand knives, I guess you'll say, were like some Todd Begg field grade bodegas. But then the one that really like set it off was the Andre Thorburn L36M that I bought originally, that the one that I cherish replaced, which it was like the first custom that I bought with cash, right? There was no trading. It was a brand new knife from the New York Custom Knife Show of 2016, which was for sale via Tri-City Customs. And I just like was so nervous about it, and it was like so much money to me at the time, and I was like, I don't know, it's a beautiful custom knife, it's got a purple bolster, like I need it. So I bought it, and that was like, you know, that was like the YouTube channel. I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna buy 1 million of these, and it's just been downhill ever since.
Yeah.
See, that's so weird. See, like, so when I moved to California, I had a lot of ARs and handguns I didn't want to bring into the state of California because they hate America. And
in New York, I have paintball guns, and those are somewhat illegal in New York.
I still have about 15 guns, and most of them are PSR style, like match bolt action. Bolt action's fine here. As long as it's bolt action, you're good to go. That's just a hunting rifle. He's Elmer Fudd. He ain't gonna hurt nobody. I don't know why I did a country accent in California. Everybody out here is weird.
But did.
Anyways, I did. It's okay. It's okay. And so, like, I sold probably like 40 guns in Georgia. I was trading selling every other day. Like, I was driving up to Atlanta every day to meet somebody to give them a gun. And like when I moved out here,
Sounds shady.
Well, the cool thing is in most states, as long as you ask the person, are you a Georgia resident, or just Georgia, for example, and, you know, are you a convicted felon, and they say no, as far as the law is concerned.
Background check? Like, you don't have to go through the
no
story or anything like that?
See, people that live in non-free states have no idea. No, like, literally, they're like, hey, can you meet me at this Walmart? And I go, yeah, I'll be there in an hour. And I go to the Walmart, and I'm like, hey, I have this gun. You want to come look at it? So I'll pop the trunk open in the Walmart. I show them the AR, and they look at it. They take it out. They take it out. They look at it, and they're like, yeah, I like it. Okay, well, I'm asking $1,500 for it. And the dude's like, okay, fine, that sounds cool. And I'm like, are you a Georgia resident? Yes. Are you a convicted felon? Are you allowed to own this? Yes. And that's it. He could be lying to me, and like, by the law,
so
I'm fine.
hopefully he said no to the felon question.
Well, he
yeah,
tripped himself
sorry.
up because he said, and you can own this.
But that just seems like a very easy way to get falsely accused and go to jail. Like, what if you just touch that gun and tomorrow you go shoot someone and they find your fingerprints?
It's not, I mean, you can say, hey, I sold it to that dude, and I don't know what he did with it, but I sold it to him. A lot of people that I met throughout the gun community, they like to write bill of sales, but I didn't. I would
I feel like I won't up like I sold it to him last week.
In Georgia, like, I could be 18 and own a handgun, but I couldn't be 18 and go to a gun store and buy one because you have to be 21 to buy one. So what I did is I went online and I met people to sell me a gun at 18. A Glock 19 was my first handgun. And yeah, so the laws are very loosey-goosey, which, I don't know, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But
I just got my permit. It took like 7 months.
Well, I applied for a concealed carry permit in the state of California when I first moved here. It's still pending, and I've paid them $600 for it. In Georgia, I paid $80 for a concealed carry, and I had it in 2 weeks.
I don't know anyone who's ever really got it in California. They've just been put on the bandwagon for a while.
Well, it's county by county. So the Sacramento County sheriff is supposed to be signing them, but he's like up for re-election, and it's all wonky as shit. I don't know. I've been waiting forever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure having you. guys, we're going to go around real quick and let everybody know where they can be found. Nick, do you have any shout-outs, any social media? Just promote yourself.
You can find me at NCC Knives on Instagram and nccknives.com.
Awesome. Check them out, guys. Frank, where can we find you?
I am on YouTube as Dr. Frunky. I am on Instagram as @DrFrunky. And you can email me, you can DM me on there anytime, or you can email me at drfrunky@gmail.com.
Awesome. And Josh?
I go by Echo Does Knives on Instagram. They are 2 underscores between Echo and Dozen Knives. There's 2 in there somewhere. You guys can figure it out. And you can DM me there, and we'll talk about knives or guns. That's fine.
There you go. And I am, of course, Tyler, a.k.a. Tovarishworks. You can find me on YouTube at Tovarishworks, Instagram at Tovarishworks, email me at tovarishworks@gmail.com. Continue to email us questions for the Q&A at the end of episodes. That we've gotten a few of those at theknifecast@gmail.com, and we look forward to kicking those off in the next regular scheduled episode. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and we will see you next time.